On my wedding day, my mom got down on her knees and begged me to let my husband go to my sister. My brother urged me, "Can't you understand? Polly has depression. She can't handle stress." My dad slapped me right across the face. "Why are you crying? You're a born jinx. It should have been you who died back then. But it's okay. I will die." But when the news about my death really came, my brother's indifferent face looked panicked. "It's fake. It must be a lie." My dad clutched his heart in pain. How could this happen? She was so capable. My mom was utterly devastated, repeatedly saying sorry to me, but I was already gone. It was too late for everything. That Christmas, Mom made a whole table of food. The family sat around, the scene warm and lively. As the midnight bells rang, fireworks lit up outside. My family raised their glasses in celebration, wishing my brother success at work, wishing my dad prosperity in business, wishing my mom health, wishing my sister a smooth and happy marriage. Not a single blessing was related to me. No one remembered someone was missing from the family, until Mom's phone rang. Urgently, impatiently, it was a call from me. She coldly hung up, irritated, and I lay in the cold earth, losing my last bit of hope. I died on Christmas night, when the family was reunited. My soul returned home. They finished dinner and gathered to watch the Spring Festival Gala, discussing Polly's wedding. As they talked, tears welled up in Polly's eyes. I want to invite my sister to the wedding, but she might still be mad at me. What should I do? My dad snorted. "Don't worry about that. Even if we have to tie her up, we'll bring her." "Yes, it's just a man. Why does she have to be so petty?" My brother couldn't understand. Mom sighed, looking very sad. "She always worries me. When I was pregnant with twins, the doctor said she survived by taking Polly's nutrients. How is she still not enough?" That sentence again. I've heard it countless times since I was born. It's the original sin I carried from birth. Every time it was mentioned, it made my parents and brother resent me. They automatically excluded me, looking at me like I was a murderer. Even though I was just a child, under their scorn and hatred, I lived in fear, crying and helpless. I craved their love, but could only watch as they adopted another girl. They gave her the favoritism I never had, and demanded that I pay for my sins by giving her everything. Anything Polly wanted and I had to be given to her. From a pen or a doll to scholarships and competition spots. Even my husband, Eric, and I were graduate school classmates. We hit it off right away and fell in love. We should have been like most campus couples, in love, graduating, and getting married smoothly. But during my third year, Polly also got into our school, becoming Eric's junior. She always had problems needing Eric's help, always turned to him when she was unhappy, without any reservations. She relied on him, admired him, her gaze filled with affection. As I watched them get closer, I sounded a warning, but they both denied it with unspoken agreement. Eric even proposed to me to show his loyalty. I longed for a home of my own, still had feelings for him after all these years, so I agreed. But on the wedding day, Polly showed up. With tearful eyes, she gave her blessings. "Mary, though I'm in despair from losing my love, I still wish you and Eric a long and happy life." I was a bit stunned. I didn't want to argue on my wedding day, just drank the toast to get it over with. But she suddenly sobbed and fainted. Our parents were heartbroken. "Mary, don't get married. Give Eric to Polly. She has depression. Without love, her condition will worsen." "What will happen then?" They persuaded me excitedly, just like before, without anyone standing on my side. Even though I was the actual victim, my eyes reddened. "If I had depression, would you have let me have my way?" My dad immediately got furious. "What do you mean? Are you mocking Polly? You're asking for trouble." He clenched his fist, and if there weren't others around, he would have hit me. Polly started crying again. She fainted but still cried with her eyes closed. Mom looked pained. "Mary, let your sister have Eric. I beg you." Then she knelt before me. I was shocked and tried to pull her up, but she wouldn't, just knelt there, torturing my heart. And at this moment, Eric also looked at me with guilty eyes. "Mary, I don't want anything to happen to Polly. Let me take her away. I promise I'll come back." I knew him. Once he said that, he wouldn't come back. Tears fell from my eyes. What else could I do but watch them leave? I looked in the mirror. My reflection with delicate makeup, beautiful and pure in a wedding dress. I should have become a happy bride today. But right now, I was no different from a clown. A knock on the door. It was Eric. The family welcomed him warmly, bringing him in. He was here to discuss wedding details. He glanced around, curious. Mary isn't coming home for the holidays. Polly's eyes instantly turned red. She must be mad at us. That's why she's not coming. I really didn't mean it. Eric hugged her, feeling sorry. "It was my fault. Don't worry about her. She brings bad luck anyway. Don't be sad. Just focus on being a bride." Polly smiled through tears. don't talk like that. She's still my sister." Her considerate and big-hearted words earned her praise and admiration, while spitting contempt at me. In her contrast, I always seemed stubborn and odd, unlikable. Even the little honors I managed to earn never got any blessing from family, because of her manipulations. The most memorable moment was when my essay won first prize in the Autumn Harvest Cup. I wanted to invite my parents to the award ceremony to share my joy, and the organizers also intended to interview our family for a news article. They agreed, but on the day of the award, they called to say they couldn't make it. Polly started crying again. "She's weak and might be having a depressive episode. We need to stay with her." With that, they hung up, not giving me a chance to plead. I accepted the trophy alone, gave my speech, and then apologized to the organizers. Since my parents weren't coming, the planned events had to be rearranged. They looked grim. I didn't dare argue and tried my hardest to hold back tears. Later, I saw photos on Polly's social media. Mom and Dad took her to the amusement park. She was smiling happily on a carousel, flashing a peace sign. This is depression. Why is it that whenever I need my parents, she coincidentally becomes depressed? The one really depressed is me. It was late. Everyone was getting ready for bed. We lived in a 3-bedroom, 1 living room apartment. Mom and Dad in one room, my brother in another, and Polly in the third. I, on the other hand, could only sleep in a small storeroom partitioned off in the living room. It was cramped with just a small bed. My awkward and tough teenage years were spent there. Changing clothes was often a hassle. I protested, asking for my own room. If that wasn't possible, I could share with Polly. It made sense for 2 girls to share a room, especially since it was the largest bedroom, big enough for 2 beds. But Polly refused. She said I wasn't fit to share a room with her. I fought back, crying, "Why am I not fit? I'm also a daughter of this family." But my parents never stood up for me, always siding with Polly. They stubbornly forced me into that storeroom, ignoring my tears. They cared about Polly's tears. Mine only annoyed them. "You're the older sister. You must be content and sensible, understand," they would say over and over. Why is it that among 3 children, they only demanded that I be sensible? Just me. Am I that unimportant to them? I was so sad I wanted to feel noticed. So once after school, I didn't go home. I hid in a nearby park, hoping my parents would worry and come find me. But I waited and waited. The sun set, and the moon rose. Finally, a middle-aged woman came running by. She hugged her daughter tightly, as if holding a lost treasure. "Don't be afraid, Mommy will take you home." The little girl hugged her mother's neck, full of dependence and joy. I was so envious. I thought if my parents came looking for me, even if they hit me, I'd be happy. But they didn't come, not even a phone call. I wiped away my tears and eventually snuck back home. The family was eating dinner and watching a movie, enjoying themselves. Not even a glance my way. I called out, "Mom." She turned, full of sarcasm. "You still know how to come back, huh? Why didn't you just die out there?" My heart felt like it was pierced by an arrow. "Mom, now I really am dead outside. Are you happy?" Christmas passed, and Polly's wedding day arrived. Mom and Dad wanted a grand event, invited many people, and the church was bustling. Relatives gathered, offering congratulations, and bragging about their children. I heard the groom works at a public company. "Polly really has an eye for men. That gold bracelet was bought by your son-in-law, right?" Many envied. Mom touched the bracelet, looking awkward. "The bracelet was bought by me. On Mother's Day last year, I followed my therapist's advice to mend our relationship, and bought the bracelet to make her happy. But she only complained about me wasting money, without a hint of joy." A relative sighed, "Among our generation of kids, your eldest Mary is the most successful. A grad student, hardworking, and capable. You're very lucky." Mom gripped the bracelet harder, looking a bit dazed. She probably remembered me at last. Polly suddenly said sadly, "Mary is indeed excellent, but she's never home. She didn't even come back for Christmas, let alone my wedding." She stopped, looking hurt. Mom's face darkened. She took off the bracelet, and threw it into her bag. "Don't mention that ungrateful child. Today's about celebrating. Everyone enjoy." Polly smiled faintly, unnoticed. See, she always found ways to shatter any good impression Mom might have of me. When I was little, Mom wasn't always so bad to me. After all, I spent 10 months in her womb, connected by blood. I remember once during a birthday, Mom said she had a gift for me. I eagerly waited all day. Mom smiled and took out a little dress. "How do you like it?" A beautiful pink pleated dress. What little girl wouldn't love it? Polly had many, and I finally had my first. I was ecstatic, hugging the dress, spinning in circles. "Thank you, Mom. I love you so much." I expressed my joy passionately. Mom's eyes reddened, and she gently touched my cheek. I nodded vigorously, my face flushed with happiness. Then Polly walked over and said one thing. "Mary is so lucky. If the other sister were alive, I wonder if she'd get such a beautiful dress." Mom's expression changed instantly from loving to cold and resentful. She snatched the little dress and started cutting it to pieces with scissors. "Your sister's dead, and you still have the nerve to wear a new dress, huh? Why?" The strips of fabric fell apart, and I cried my eyes out. "No, Mom, please don't. Please don't cut it." But it was useless. The dress was shredded to bits and thrown in my face. I hugged it, feeling like I was hugging my own broken self. Polly walked up to me, smiling maliciously. With tears in my eyes, I asked her, "Why are you doing this to me?" She just giggled, eating a lollipop, and said, "Because I don't like you. I don't want anyone else in the family to like you either. Dad, Mom, and our brother, none of their love is allowed to go to you. So, they never called me to join them when they went out. I never got any gifts like the other kids. They even cropped me out of family photos, just as she wanted. I got no love from my family." I once screamed hysterically asking why, and then cried alone, hugging myself at night. I tried to please them, forced myself to smile, and served them like a servant, all in hopes they'd care about me just a little bit. But I was ignored countless times. I struggled in the abyss of lovelessness. I had no one to rely on. The wedding was over. Polly went with Eric to their new home. Mom and Dad also went home. To prep for Polly's wedding, my small room in the living room was dismantled, and my scattered belongings were piled in a corner. Mom was frustrated looking at it and finally called me back. But the phone rang for a long time with no answer. Mom's face looked terrible, not answering again, still holding a grudge. "Mom, don't be angry. I'll try calling." My brother started dialing my number frantically and surprisingly got through. "Mary, where the hell are you? Not coming home for the holidays to see Mom and Dad? Do you still consider yourself their daughter? If you don't come back, I'll throw all your junk out." Silence. Then after a while, a man's voice came through. "She's with me. If you want her back, send me $10,000, otherwise don't call again." My brother was stunned, then hurriedly hung up. Of course, the kidnapper knew our family well, mentioned spending money on me, and they'd want to hide as far away as possible. Mom anxiously asked, "What happened? What did she say?" My brother mumbled, "Nothing, just hung up." Mom's eyes reddened as she sat down, blaming me for being ungrateful and rebellious. She even said if my sister had lived, things would be better. Hearing that always hurt me. Even now, as a soul, it still feels painful. I was the unwanted child. From birth to growing up, it was like this. Even though I've been missing for so long, they don't care. They never thought about whether I was in danger. All they gave me was blame. Mom, do you know how terrifying that Christmas Eve was? I was pressed into the muddy ground, cold rain hitting my body, feeling so cold and scared, like falling into an icy pit full of thorns. I tried desperately to escape, but got cut and bled everywhere. I screamed, cried, struggled in utter fear and helplessness. I prayed to God, to Buddha, to you, prayed for you to save me. Since the wedding incident, my relationship with the family worsened. They never checked on me unless they needed money. I remember that Christmas Eve, Mom called, again asking for money. She sighed. "Polly's in-laws think her dowry is too little. If you have money, can you add another $5,000? I was speechless. "Do you even feel right asking me to pay? Mary, you're her sister, for goodness sake. Help her out." I laughed coldly. "What does that have to do with me? That's your problem." Mom couldn't respond, and Dad yelled from the side, "We need to save money for your brother to get married. Don't think you're getting any. I'm telling you, you must pay. It's only natural to support your family with your earnings. Do you think I'm stupid?" We had a furious argument. In the end, I was heartbroken and hung up. I wasn't living as comfortably as they thought. The work environment was hostile. I didn't know how to navigate it and got targeted unfairly. Extra work, not mine, kept getting pushed onto me. I'd work overtime, even with a fever, and couldn't take a break. When it was all done, I'd get no rewards, only blame. They made me the scapegoat because I was an easy target. I complained to my boss, but he twisted his words around, yelled at me, calling me worthless trash. I felt dizzy and anxious from his insults. Today was particularly harsh. I couldn't withstand it anymore and quit my job. It rained, and there were even fewer people on the road. I flagged a cab, feeling dizzy, gave my address, and dozed off in the seat. The driver nodded, wearing a cap. Who knows how long I slept. When I woke up, I realized the road was getting more and more remote, nothing like the way home. Panicking, I banged on the window, but the windows were already locked. I couldn't get out. Who are you? Stop the car. I want to get out. He just chuckled, didn't speak, and drove faster. I tried to make a call, but found the signal was jammed. We were on a mountain slope with no buildings around. The man had great strength, threw me to the ground forcefully. What do you want? Money? But he didn't want money at all. He sneered, with 2 scars on his face, looking horrifying under the flashes of lightning. He suddenly grabbed my throat. Mary, why do you have to fight with Polly over everything? She's already so pitiful being sick, and you still try to steal her man. Damn it, you promiscuous woman, you should die. His grip tightened, and I could hardly breathe. Polly, is he coming to her defense? Could he be that rumored crazy ex-boyfriend? Before meeting Eric, Polly had a relationship. They said it was an online romance where the guy was head over heels for her, even taking out loans to spend on her. That time, she spent money like water, but she never looked at him seriously. Didn't even want her family to meet him. After using him, she dumped him. You misunderstood. But he didn't listen to my explanation, only believing what he wanted, his eyes crazed and stubborn. I struggled desperately, my hands and feet hitting against rocks, making my head feel dizzy with pain. Suddenly, he got sick, and he lowered his head, looking at my face with a mesmerized expression. Polly, my Polly, let me have you. Clothes were being ripped off, and I trembled all over with fear. No, I'm not Polly, and I didn't steal her man. Why do this to me? I've been humiliated enough when I was alive. Must I suffer this even in death? I tried my best to kick him, but he pinned down my legs fiercely. Don't move. Polly, be good. The devil's voice echoed in my ears. My fingers shakily reached for my phone, calling the first number back at lightning speed. Mom, save me. Please, you have to save me. I waited and waited, but only heard the sound of the call being hung up, so fragile in the pouring rain. The man noticed and smashed the phone, then punished me even more cruelly. Are you looking for other men again? Why? What's wrong with me? Bitch. He went mad, picking up a stone, hitting me non-stop. My body became battered, blood splattering everywhere. So painful. It hurts, Mom. Blood flowed out. I couldn't make a sound from my throat. Tears mingled with the rain falling down. Finally, in endless despair, I exhausted all my life force. Maybe guided by some instinct, my soul returned home. These days I've watched them, feeling cold as iron. Polly was coming home soon, and my mom went happily to buy groceries, planning to make a feast for her daughter and son-in-law. The vendor enthusiastically introduced the goods, mentioning me casually. Your eldest daughter is really a good person. Last time I felt unwell on the road and almost fainted. She sent me to the hospital. I wanted to thank her but couldn't find her. Take your pick. No charge this time. Take it as my gratitude. You're really lucky. If I had such a good kid, I'd laugh myself awake in my dreams. My mom's expression was stiff, not used to hearing compliments about me. She was better at handling praises for my brother and Polly. She's not that good. Very rebellious in front of the family. The vendor smiled. Kids sometimes throw tantrums as a way of showing affection. We adults should be more understanding. My mom was stunned, her face slightly pale. She had never treated me as a child, nor had she been understanding towards me. Just then, the phone rang. It was the police. She finally knew I was dead. I floated in front of Mom, carefully observing her expression. Mom, are you sad? Are you in pain? But I couldn't tell anything. Her expression was calm, silently returning home after finishing her shopping. I laughed at myself. Sure enough, I shouldn't have had any expectations. Mom, you really don't love me at all. I hate you. The family gathered, sitting in silence. Only Mom was busy all over, cleaning up here and there, unable to stop, until a bowl broke, the loud noise echoing in the quiet space. She stared at her bleeding fingers, dazed. My dad got angry. Enough. Stop dawdling. Let's go to the station to bring her body back. Dad, why so harsh? Mom didn't do it on purpose. Polly cooed, walking over to comfort Mom. This happened so suddenly. Mom, you must be scared. Don't be sad. You still have me. My mom looked up at her. Her little daughter's makeup was exquisite, vibrant, completely unlike me, always barefaced, cool and aloof. Her eyes flickered but, for the first time, didn't respond to her beloved daughter's words. In the past, she would have praised her with deep gratitude. Polly bit her lip unwillingly, retracting her outstretched hand. The next morning, they all went to the police station. The police offered some empathetic words, then took them to see the body. The killer dumped the body in the lake. A fisherman found it while fishing and reported it to the police. The body, swollen and decomposed after being in the water, was a horrifying sight. Polly immediately turned her face away, covering her mouth, almost puking. My brother and dad gasped, turning their backs quickly, unable to look. Only Mom stared unblinkingly, her gaze sweeping over every wound on my body. The cop sighed, explaining the situation briefly. The killer, named Sam, has already been caught. He's a loner with some mental issues. He had been watching your daughter for over a month, seeking revenge intentionally. It seems to involve your younger daughter. Polly panicked, hastily shaking her head. It has nothing to do with me. I broke up with him years ago, and haven't been in contact. I'm married now. You can check if you don't believe me. The cop nodded, but still had a female officer take her away for a statement. After my death, Mom finally spoke her first words. Her voice was hoarse. The police agreed. The man in the interrogation room was handcuffed, in a daze, until he saw my mother's eyes light up. Aunt, where's Polly? Where did my Polly go? I solved her troubles for her. She must be happy, right? My mom's lips trembled. Did Polly tell you to kill? The man shook his head. Polly is the purest fairy. She wouldn't do something this awful. I saw her complaining on another social account, so I decided to solve her problems for her. Her sister was really troublesome. It was difficult to kill her. She even tried to call for help before she died. It seemed like she was calling Aunt. Why didn't you answer? She was crying and calling for her mom, and my mom's eyes widened as she stared straight at him. The police quickly had the culprit taken away to stop his raving. My mom turned her stiff head to look at him. Even the police were taken aback. What's the matter? She shook her head and said nothing. I was ignored. Many people didn't even know there was another daughter in the Young family, because my parents always talked about my brother and Polly. Mom, do you feel guilty? My body was cremated. The group took my urn home. Polly cried all the way. I never thought he would do such a terrible thing. If he had targeted me, she couldn't imagine, and she threw herself into Mom's arms. Mom, I'm so scared. But Mom didn't reach out to hug and comfort her as she expected. Instead, she sat in her seat, looking down at her phone. She panicked, pulling at Mom's sleeve with tears in her eyes. Mom, are you blaming me? It really has nothing to do with me. The police have investigated, you know that. Actually, I was also very sad about my sister's death. She held her head and cried about how much pain she was in, looking like her depression was coming back. My brother felt sorry and comforted her. Mom loves you the most. Why would she blame you? Don't overthink it. Speaking of, Mary had a cursed life, even bringing troubles upon herself. My mom suddenly looked up. What did you say? My brother was a bit embarrassed. He knew how vile his words were to me. She was your little sister. She died because of scum and bad people, not because of herself. My brother echoed, but his eyes were surprised. This was the first time Mom ever emphasized to him that I was also his sister. Polly obviously sensed something. Her eyes turned cold. She held her head and cried out in pain louder, looking pitiful, still calling for Mom. But Mom remained silent. Dad was furious. Your daughter is calling you. Are you deaf? Mom showed Polly her phone screen, her eyes colder than ever. You said on another social account that Mary stole your husband, bullied you since childhood, and harassed you. Why did you lie? This shocked the other two as well. Everyone knew that in this family, she was the absolute princess, and everyone protected her. Only she ever bullied me. When did I ever get to bully her? Polly turned pale and restless. I understood. She must have known for a long time that Sam was always secretly watching her. So she deliberately posted those things on another social account, just to make Sam, the psycho, target me. Polly's shoulders trembled, tears falling in big drops. I didn't mean to. When I'm sick and depressed, I just write chaotic things without thinking. I never thought it would cause so much harm. She cried so sadly that Dad softened immediately. All right, Polly has said she's depressed. Honey, don't make a fuss. But Mary was also depressed, Mom said, throwing out my diagnosis in front of Dad. Severe depression, hopelessness. Mom and Dad despised me. Brother and sister hurt me. Extreme lack of love. Multiple self-harms. Patient's body covered in scars. Suicidal tendencies. Every sentence was shocking. Dad quickly closed it, his chest heaving. He finally understood. Depression wasn't like Polly's pretentious behavior. Depression was bloodily cruel, and Polly was still crying out in pain. Mom handed her my medication. Your sister happened to have medicine here. Do you want to take it? She was stunned, speechless. Of course. Polly wouldn't take the medicine. She ran as soon as she got out of the car. Back home, Mom tidied up my things, understanding vaguely through them how I was living outside. No glamour, just busy surviving, and crashing treatments. She touched my sock with a hole in it, holding it for a long time. Which child is stubborn like you, always arguing with parents, never telling me if you're wronged? Tears welled up in my eyes. My heart ached. Mom, I told you, but what did you do then? The first time Polly bullied me I came to you, but you only believed in Polly's fake tears. Only comforting her. I pulled at your clothes, tearfully. Mom, I didn't scold her. She scolded me and tore my book. You impatiently pushed me away, scolding loudly. You even learned to lie. Polly's so young, how could she do bad things? You're the big sister. You should let her have her way. The big sister. I am the big sister. You always emphasized that to me. Because of this title, I was supposed to take all the grievances, but you never demanded anything from my older brother, because he was older. Mom, you don't love me. What's the point of telling you my grievances? Mom, I'm also your child. I don't ask to be loved the most, just a little bit. But why can't you even give me that? Why? On my burial day, the weather was great. Sunshine and a clear sky. On the black tombstone, there's a black and white photo of me, smiling carefree, as if I were a girl who grew up being pampered. My dad and my brother are wiping their tears, and Polly is wailing loudly. Relatives and friends are offering their condolences, and exclaiming how much my family loved me. I'm standing aside, feeling it's all absurd. Crying continues, only my mom looks expressionless. After the funeral, my dad complains to her, so many people are watching. As a mom, you should at least shed a few tears, even if you have to fake it. What will people say if they hear about this? Mom doesn't say a word, just stares blankly into the distance, her white hair striking under the sunlight. A few days later, she takes my death certificate to deregister me. The officer picks up the stamp, about to mark it, when she suddenly speaks. Wait, the officer looks at her curiously. What's the matter? Is there a problem? Her lips tremble. She wants to say something but can't. After a long while, she can only shake her head. The red stamp finally goes down. She realizes I'm really dead. There is no more me in this world. Her fingers tremble, her back bends, and she squats down, crying her heart out. Mary, my child, what do we do? You were so young. I'm sorry. Mom is sorry. She calls my name, her face covered with tears, pain eating at her. For some reason, my eyes get wet too. A month after my death, my mom finally cries for me. Mom regrets it. Everyone can see her longing for me. She specially arranges a room for me, buys many beautiful dresses. She loves telling others about my childhood and can't help but praise me. She says my daughter was actually very good. I just wasn't a good mom. At night, she always gazes at my photos and things, tears streaming down, calling my name softly, again and again. Mary, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Watching her do all this, I feel a mix of emotions. Mom, don't be like this. When I was alive, I humbly yearned for your love, but you didn't give it. Now that I'm dead, you start to love me. It's too late. I want to leave, but I can't. Blood ties bind me. I can only watch them day after day, until something big happens. My brother gets scammed, losing $1 million. It's not just his savings, but includes an $800,000 loan. This amount is catastrophic for our family. All of my parents' savings aren't enough to cover it. Coincidentally, Polly comes home this day. My brother, desperate, pleads with her. She, shocked, covers her mouth, then tears fall like pearls. I have no money. I rely on monthly allowances, and it's not always certain I'll get them. Ever since Eric found out Mary died, he's mocked me constantly. He says I'm scheming. I deliberately seduced him and ruined his relationship with Mary. He always compares me to her, saying she made money, had a high degree. He even hits me. Mom, I'm really going mad. She lifts her sleeve, revealing bruises, hoping the mother who always loved her would stand up for her. But Mom's expression is cold, merely questioning. Aren't those facts? You asked for it. Polly's pupils tremble in disbelief at how her mother is treating her. Mom, what are you doing? It wasn't me who caused Mary's death. How can you blame me? She looks truly pitiful with tear-filled eyes. My dad comforts her. Your mom's head isn't right lately. Don't mind her, but help your brother. Polly shakes her head in grievance. How can I help? I don't have money, and Eric won't give me any. My brother's eyes light up, remembering. You do, your bride price and dowry. You must have 300,000 at least. My dad laughs, immediately agreeing. That's right, 300,000 into the pot, and later repayments will be easier. Polly, lend your brother the money. Polly stands frozen, sweat beads forming on her forehead. I need money to buy a house. It's already arranged. Nonsense. I talked to Eric. You have no plans to buy a house. The money just went into your account. My brother grows more agitated. Admit it, you just don't want to lend, right? Polly, exposed, flies into a rage out of shame. So what if I don't want to lend? It's my money. My dad is shocked at her hysteria. Polly, how can you be so selfish? We're family. Your brother always cared for you. Family. Polly points at herself, laughing. Don't kid yourself. I've always known I'm not really one of you. Mary is your family. You sucked her dry. Now you want to suck me dry. Fat chance. She yells with a twisted face, terrifying. My dad stares at her in disbelief, as if seeing her true self for the first time. We've never mistreated you. We've treated you better than our own child. Polly scoffs. So that's why Mary was disposable. dealing with parents like you. My parents' faces go pale instantly. My brother slaps her. You ungrateful wretch. How dare you mention Mary? You're not worthy, and neither are you. Don't forget how you bullied her, cut her hair, tore her work, cheated her out of money, refused to pay when she was kidnapped. Now that she's dead, you pretend to be a good brother. My brother's raised hand slowly falls. He staggers, pale. Those memories flash before his eyes. I didn't mean it. I liked her a lot when she was born. I even held her. It's all your fault. Always tattling, bad-mouthing her, and I believed you. She was my real sister all along. He covered his face, and big tears started falling. You could see the regret in his eyes. Polly let out a mocking laugh, pushed the door open, and left. My dad watched her walk away, heartbroken. He clutched his chest and collapsed. Cries filled the room. Mom sat on the ground, laughing and crying at the same time. Karma, she said. It's all karma. Dad became a vegetable. Polly cut ties with us and never came back. My brother ended up in huge debt, mostly from online loans with high interest rates. He worked himself to the bone, but it was never enough. Debt collectors came by all the time. It wasn't unusual for him to get beaten up. He begged countless times for mercy. He didn't dare come home anymore and basically lived on the run. Last time I saw him was at my grave. He was being held down, and they broke his legs. His sweat and blood poured on my tombstone. He nervously wiped it with his sleeve, mumbling apologies. Mary, don't be scared. I'll clean it up for you. That was the first time he called himself my brother. He probably realized it too, and he started crying, his tears mixing with the blood. I sighed and looked away. Mom, now old and worn out, worked odd jobs everywhere. She was so thin, she almost looked skeletal. She hardly spoke, aged like a living ghost. Only in front of my portrait did her eyes light up. She'd ask if I was cold or hungry down there. She'd make delicious food with her last bit of rations and beg me to come eat. Day after day, year after year, I silently watched her suffering, her bent back, her hair turning white. The hate and resentment in my heart slowly faded away. Mom, stop punishing yourself, I whispered in her ear. She only felt the wind blow. She suddenly stood up and, with teary eyes, called out, Mary, are you back? Mary, I miss you so much. I miss you too. I cried, feeling my heart ache. After winter, Dad couldn't hold on any longer. He lay in bed, barely breathing, cheeks sunken like a skeleton. In his last moment, he seemed to get some clarity. He grabbed Mom's hand and told her, when I'm gone, burn some guns and swords for me. I couldn't protect Mary in life. I can't let her get bullied in the afterlife. Mom nodded with tears in her eyes. Dad smiled and took his last breath. I closed my eyes and drifted away, feeling sad. We had no money for Dad's funeral, so after being cremated, his ashes were scattered into the sea. That day, I heard Mom whisper quietly, Mary, Mom will join you soon. A bad feeling crept in. Sure enough, the next day she met with Polly. Polly had a rough couple of years too. Eric cheated and dumped her, spent all her money. She had no place to stay after the divorce. Mom said she wanted to mend things and let Polly move back. Polly happily agreed and was thrilled to see Mom had made a big feast. She sweetly called her Mom and said all kinds of nice things, like the falling out never happened. My mom smiled, serving her food, listening to her problems, and comforting her as usual. But the food was laced with deadly poison. I saw Mom put it in with my own eyes. Polly ate heartily, her mouth greasy, until the pain hit her stomach. She screamed in agony, fell from her chair, body writhing like a worm, reaching out to Mom. I'm sorry, Mom, I'm sorry. I apologized to Mary. I shouldn't have hurt her. Please forgive me. Save me, I beg you. But Mom watched her coldly, like she was already dead. Only now did Polly realize Mom no longer loved her. She couldn't accept it, felt pain and despair. Mom, you can't do this to me. You can't. She broke down, crying, crawling on the ground, hair in a mess, like a ghost. The spoiled little sister, finally knowing what it felt like to be unloved. With a choking sound, dark blood spilled from her mouth, staining the wooden floor. Her lips and nails turned purple. Her body twisted in a disturbing angle from the pain. In that horrifying position, she took her last breath. Mom was not far from being poisoned as well. She clutched her stomach, trembling, and held my photo. Her eyes were soft. Mary, Mommy avenged you. Will you forgive me now? I shook my head, tears I couldn't hold back. Mom, please don't do this. Go to the hospital. You can still live a long time. Mom, don't die, please. Even if you die, I won't forgive you. I wept and watched her grow weaker. My soul got lighter. I could reincarnate now. Mom finally saw me. She chased after me, crying, apologizing. Mary, you've lost so much weight. I'm sorry, Mary. hate me, punish me. Her voice was full of pain and regret. I shook my head. It's pointless. Mom, I stopped hating you long ago, but I can't forget the hurt you caused me. It's the yelling of not being favored, the endless chores, the attitude that no matter how much I give, you think it's only right. I'm really tired. Mom, being your daughter, I'm really tired. So, let's part ways here. Forget about me. I'll forget about you too. In the next life, let's be strangers. I only hope we don't recognize each other and both live well. She opened her arms, wanting to hug me, but just as she touched me, my soul dispersed. She suddenly kneeled on the ground, weeping bitterly. No, Mary, I beg you, Mom begs you. She called my name over and over again. With every cry, her heart bled, but I didn't look back. I seemed to see Grandma, the one who always favored me when she was alive. She's still so kind and gentle. She feels sorry for how hard my life was, and she takes my hand with a smile. She says she's found a good family for me. The couple loves each other and are righteous people. I will be their only daughter, and they eagerly await my arrival. I will grow up in a loving environment, becoming a confident and gracious girl, living a life of peace, happiness, and joy.